Good morning, everyone. Hi. If you're returning, so we can pick back up where we've left off, this is number 5 exploration of the book Lilith's Cave. Just fast forward through the intro. And if you are new, check out the intro. Welcome to Jevim's research channel. Be advised that this channel is not for anyone under the age of 18. Also, the research and discoveries of this channel should not ever reflect the personal opinion or views of Jevim or her team unless publicly stated. Please understand that the opinions of the audience is also not a reflection of what or how Jevim feels. Let's bring a curious mind and open heart to these spaces for educational purposes only. Hi, guys. I just love the drums. Do you all love drums? I love tribal drums. I love tribal drums. Yeah. So in the background, I'm like, we got to have some music. In the background, we're listening to some Hildegard von Bingen uh, orchestrated. She orchestrated. She wrote music. She wrote poetry. Oh, she's a prophetess. They called her an abbess. Well, yeah, because she had her own little cult of ladies in ancient Germany. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm. Iodine. I have lots of iodine on my hand now because I was playing with Kitty. Kitty got me. All right, so we're gonna do bibliomancy, and if you don't really get into it, it's also called sword taste. You don't have to. Just fast forward if you're rewatching or anything. Anyway, we're using Paradise Lost. Why? By John Milton. Why? Because it is truly the Luciferian Bible. They all reference it. They love it. Okay. To range in and to dwell, and over man to rule as over all he should have ruled. Oh, I'm going to leave it at that. To range in and to dwell. Yeah, that is, I guess it's paragraph or verses 490. I'm not really sure how this is supposed to read. Paradise Lost. I'm not sure if it reads kind of like the Bible or anything, but anyway, it can be found at 490. And again, to range in and to dwell, and over man to rule as over all he should have ruled. Hello, Dizzy D. Yes, I'm doing good. Man to rule as he should have ruled, y'all. I'm going to say it again. To range in and to dwell, and over man to rule as over all he should have ruled. Okay. Take that. Food for thought. All right. So, where were we picking up with Lilith's Cave? This ancient Jewish folklore collection. Now, keep in mind, this is coming in from like all over the place. We've read from Syria, Iran, Babylon, Egypt, Jerusalem. Yeah. So I'm going to zoom in so we can all do it. Where did we leave off? We left off at Rabbi Joseph and the sorcerer, I think is where, with Devil's Fire, because we only read 2 yesterday, the Door to Gehenna and the Devil's Fire. Now, the Door to Gehenna is supposed to be like the door of hell, but it was a place of Moloch worship and sacrifice. Okay, so now we're going to Rabbi Joseph and the sorcerer. That's at page 84. There we go. Is it 84? Right. And again, this is just exploration. I have never dove into like the folklore of the Jewish people. And I find it very, very interesting. Okay. No, it gave us the wrong side tab file. Okay. We'll get there. Yeah, see, yesterday's was really wrong. Not wrong, long. And this one, the Devil's Fire, was from Eastern Europe in the 1800s and 19th century. Okay, this is where we left off. Yom Kippur. Yeah, all right. So I do not pay for YouTube whatsoever. Let's see who else is in a hello, me from Indonesia. Hello from Indonesia. Good to see people from all over the world. Because all over the world you might not know about this. Hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, this is what we might do. Yeah, we might do that and then make it big. Let's see. Wait. No, it's not. Okay, we'll just. Okay, here we go. Is that the best layout, y'all? Just let me know. Drinking some really good tea. Okay. Rabbi Joseph and the Sorcerer. Here we go, y'all. It happened one year in the city of Salzburg that three young and beautiful Jewish girls disappeared on Yom Kippur. The Day of Atonement. As they walked through the streets on the way to the synagogue. When this terrible news became known, the Jews of Salzburg all gathered together and poured out their hearts to the Holy One. Blessed be He. But the girls were never heard from again. Jesus. Okay. The next year, on the same holy day, the very same disaster struck again. Three of the most beautiful young Jewish girls vanished somewhere between their homes and the synagogue. This time, when the news reached the members of the congregation, who had already sustained a year of mourning, they trembled to their very souls. And when the Day of Atonement ended, they set out in a methodod. Uh-oh, hold on. I gotta skip this because, like I said, I don't pay for the YouTube. I just want to hear the lovely music. Maybe it'll help y'all get your morning started or go back to sleep. Let's see, where was I? They set out on a methodical search through all of Salzburg and the surrounding area, but they found nothing, nothing at all. Virtually all Jews and righteous Gentiles kept a close lookout for those girls everywhere they went, but not a single sight was reported. How could this be? The people began to fear that it was some kind of terrible punishment the Lord had brought down on them because of their sins, and they prayed and repented and fasted from Sabbath to Sabbath, but still none of the lost girls was heard from again. The third year at this time drew near for Yom Kippur. The people began to tremble with dread, especially the parents of young and beautiful maidens. Many of these parents came to the rabbi of Salzburg and begged him to find a way to protect their daughters that year, for they all feared the worst. How about everybody walks to Yom Kippur together? That's my suggestion. Okay. Let's see. Many of the parents came to the rabbi of Salzburg and begged him to find a way to protect their daughters, for they all feared the worst. The rabbi, like all of the Jews of this city, had suffered greatly over the loss of those precious maidens, and he too feared future dangers. Yet every avenue had been searched, and still nothing had been found. What could he do? That night, the rabbi sent up a dream question in which he begged the Holy One, blessed be He, to help them find out a way out of their dilemma. And in the dream that came to him, the rabbi found himself walking through the streets of a strange city as though he knew his way. And at last he reached the house that was his goal. Although even in the dream he did not know what this was. He knocked on the door in the great He knocked on the door in great anticipation, but just when the dream ended and the rabbi awoke. The rabbi vividly recalled his dream, and he realized at once that it was in some way a reply to his dream question. But what did it mean? For now he was awake, the rabbi realized that he did not know the city at which he had been walking. Certainly it was not Salzburg, and even if he were able to find out the name of the city, how could he ever find his way to that same house which had come to be in the dream? The rabbi tried to recall any detail of the house he could, and at last he recalled that the door had a bronze knocker in the shape of a dove. Whoa! Surely quite rare, as was only a tiny clue, but at least it was a start. Now, doves definitely is the feminine spirit in the Catholic faith, but also they represented maidens. Uh-huh. Okay. With 3 months remaining before Yom Kippur, the Rabbi of Salzburg set out on what he feared would be a futile quest. He traveled to many German cities looking for the one in his dream, but he could not find it. For 2 months of futile searching, he began to fear that he had failed, and what would have to turn back, and he would have to be with his congregation on Yom Kippur. That year, of all years, he could not abandon them. Still, he continued his quest, urging his horse onward until so little time remained that he knew he could visit only one more city. And if that were not the right one, he would have to turn back in defeat. It was late afternoon when the rabbi reached the city, but he thought nothing of his own needs and set out at once to ride through the streets. No sooner had he done so than he began to find them familiar, as if he had once lived there, but so long ago that he could not even recall when. And all at once, with a burst of joy, the rabbi realized he had reached the city of his dream. Then, as if in a trance, he found himself following the same path he had taken that night so long ago, although streets that circled like a labyrinth, until at last he found himself standing before the door of a house, and the bronze knocker of that door was in the shape of a dove. With trembling hand, Rabbi raised the knocker, praying that this should not prove to be a dream as before, but salvation for his tormented city. He knocked 3 times. There's three, the magic of three. Bless you. The door opened, and the rabbi found himself face to face with an old Jew of deeply pious appearance. The old Jew invited the rabbi to come inside and said that he had been expecting him, and the rabbi of Salzburg was so relieved by these words that he burst into tears. Then the old Jew comforted him, saying that he knew why the rabbi had come to him, and assuring him that the time of travel would shortly come to an end. The old Jew introduced himself as Rabbi Joseph and told the rabbi of Salzburg to join him for a meal and then to rest. And in the presence of Rabbi Joseph, the rabbi of Salzburg felt himself grow calm until he sat for the first time in months with a sense of peace. That evening, however, his sense of urgency returned, and he told Rabbi Joseph that they would have to set out the next day if they were to reach Salzburg in time for Yom Kippur. Then Rabbi Joseph told him, "Stay with me until the eve of the Day of Atonement." Then Rabbi Salzburg, upon hearing this, began to sob again. Rabbi Joseph asked him, What is bothering you? Why are you crying? And the rabbi of Salzburg answered, My city is a week's journey from here, and only 8 days remain until Yom Kippur. If we do not leave by morning, we will not return in time to save 3 beautiful girls from being kidnapped. But Rabbi Joseph assured him that there was no danger of their not arriving in time, and the pious Jew reluctantly agreed, for he saw that he had no other choice. So it was that they remained together in Rabbi Joseph's house, and as each day passed, the rabbi of Salzburg grew more and more anxious, for he could not imagine how he would ever return in time. But Rabbi Joseph had no such doubts. Then, on the day preceding the Day of Atonement, Rabbi Joseph brought the rabbi of Salzburg to a small empty synagogue. The rabbi let himself be led, for he had finally come to the conclusion that the matter was in the hands of God. No, it was in the Rabbi Joseph took over. Okay. Rabbi Joseph walked up before the Ark of the Covenant where the Torahs were stored and opened it. You see, they have the Ark of the Covenant. Then he turned to the rabbi of Salzburg and said, Follow me. A moment later, Rabbi Joseph stepped into the ark and disappeared. The rabbi of Salzburg almost fainted when he saw this, but overcome all doubts and fears, he too stepped into the ark, and the next thing he knew, he found himself in his own synagogue in the city of Salzburg, standing before the ark. Then the rabbi of Salzburg knew that his faith in Rabbi Joseph had not been misplaced. But before he could consider the miracle that had just happened, Rabbi Joseph turned to him and said, Come with me. And the rabbi of Salzburg meekly followed as if in a trance. That's crazy. So we have time, is it time travel? Yeah, biolocation. Okay. Rabbi Joseph walked through the streets of Salzburg as if he had made his home there all of his days. And as late afternoon approached and the time for Kol Neder, I guess that's right, Kol Neder was near at hand, the 2 men arrived at a house on the outskirts of the city. Before they knocked on the door, Rabbi Joseph went around to the back, where they saw 6 asses tied up to a tree. When the asses saw them, they began to kick and bray with heart-rending cries, which were almost human. And suddenly the rabbi of Salzburg realized that Rabbi Joseph had revealed the terrible secret to him. The girls had been turned into asses by some kind of diabolical magic. He whispered to Rabbi Joseph, Can the spell be broken? But all that Rabbi Joseph said was, Come with me. They went back to the front of the house, and Rabbi Joseph knocked on the door. The door was opened by a wealthy man, who eyed the 2 rabbis with great suspicion and asked what they wanted. Rabbi Joseph said, Can we come in? There is a matter we would like to discuss with you. The man replied with hatred in his voice, No Jew can step foot in my house. If there is something you want to say it where you stand. Rabbi Joseph remained completely calm, saying, We have simply come here to make a purchase. Our people are in need of beasts of burden, and we notice that you have 6 fine asses tied up in the back of your house. We are prepared to pay a considerable price for them. Then Rabbi Joseph reached into his pocket and pulled out a bag of golden coins, and when the man saw them, he was overcome with greed. He said, These asses are an exceptional breed. The bag of gold would purchase no more than one of them. Wow. Rabbi Joseph replied, 1 bag is all we have with us, so perhaps we shall purchase one of the asses now and bring the rest of the gold later. The evil man could not believe his luck, for that much gold could purchase 600 such animals. But he pretended as if the Jews were driving a hard bargain. He said, I suppose that I can accept your offer. Tell me which of these asses you want. Rabbi Joseph replied, Come with us and we will show you. But the evil man said, I will not be seen in company with Jews. You walk around the back and I will look on from the window. Wow. Wow. Is that just that's some extremity right there. That's some prejudice right there. I mean, it's teaching prejudice in folklore. It's keeping it going. Okay. Hmm. And Rabbi Joseph said only, That is what we shall do. Rabbi Joseph singled the rabbi of Salzburg to remain silent and led him around the back of the house. When they arrived there, they found that the man had already came to the window and opened it. He leaned out and called to the rabbis, Hurry now, it's getting late. There is somewhere I must go. Tell me, which one do you want? Rabbi Joseph turned around and pointed at one of the animals, but as he did, he pronounced a mystic name, and at that moment, the window from which the man leaned out suddenly shut. Trapping his head, the man cried out and tried to push the window open, but it was frozen in place. Then Rabbi Joseph approached him and spoke with a deeper anger. Know that your secret has been revealed to us. It is you who have kidnapped Jewish maidens on Yom Kippur and transformed them into these asses. Confess at once how the spell can be broken. Then the evil sorcerer, for that is what he was, realized that he had met his match. In terror, he begged for his life and he confessed that he had cast a spell that had turned the girls into asses and led them to his home where he broke the spell at night in order to possess them. Ugh. Then recast the spell in the morning. The two rabbis were heartsick to learn the details, and their anger grew even greater. Ugh. And the sorcerer, knowing full well his spell, pronounced the spell. The asses turned back into girls, and they cried out to the rabbis to save them from their tormentor. Jesus. Mm-mm-mm. Then Rabbi Joseph turned to face the sorcerer and pronounced another name, and the window flew down all the way, cutting off the head of the sorcerer and ending his evil life. The two rabbis comforted the girls who cried historically because they had finally been freed. After this, the men led them back into the city. They reached the synagogue, where all of the Jews of Salzburg had gathered just before the Kol Neder was to begin. And when the two rabbis entered, followed by the six girls, the people broke into a joyous uproar. The families of the girls ran to embrace them, and there were tears in the eyes of everyone. This was the happiest Yom Kippur in the history of Salzburg, for the people knew before it began that the Holy One had revealed his judgment and that it was good. The rabbi of Salzburg led Rabbi Joseph to the ark and asked him to blow the shofar, which he did, blowing blasts that ascended all the way to the throne of glory. None who heard him blow the shofar that day ever forgot it. Then the Ark of the Covenant was opened and the Torah taken out, and just as the appropriate portion was about to be read, Rabbi Joseph turned to the Ark and stepped inside. In front of all those seated there, he vanished, and all of the Jews of Salzburg, without exception, knew that a great miracle had taken place. Now, that's Germany, 12th century. What do you all think about that? Hello, Angel. Good to see you. Oh, hi, Jason. Sorry I didn't see you. Angel, how you doing this morning? Good morning. We're reading about some crazy stuff. Yeah. Hello, Lee. Good to see you. Good to see you. So, what do you all think about these tales, honestly? Really? It's wild. We have time travel, kidnapping, and raping of young girls at the same time every year. 3 of them. Everything happens in threes, right? Yeah. Yeah, it's wild. It is wild. The Haunted Violin. Oh, I think there was a movie. I think there was a movie. Hold on. Yes. Yes. It's a book. It's a theme. It's a theme that has, like, this Jewish tale here has inspired a lot of spin-offs, like, okay, the best instance is the Finger story, right? That's the Corpse Bride of Disney. So this Haunted Violin, it seems to be, it's popular. 8 Nights of Jewish Folktale. There's some Phantom Music, the Haunted Violin. So these fairy tales, like Grimm's fairy tales, of course, they take tales and make tales of tales of tales of tales. And this is why I don't think we'll ever be able to know our true history. I mean, not really. Uh-oh. Let me go back. No, I went way far ahead. The Sorcerer and the Virgin. Oh, geez. Yeah. I know, right? Like, wow. All right. In Worms, we're doing the Haunted Violin. In Worms, there was a carpenter who was called upon to make a coffin. When the coffin was finished, there was one board left. Whew. The carpenter decided to carve a violin out of it. That night, however, he had a dream in which the dead man for whom he had made the coffin came to him and warned him not to do so. The carpenter recalled this dream when he awoke, but dismissed it as he did all dreams. See, I'm telling you, if you don't believe in magic, it's going to bite you in the bum. It will bite you in the bum every single time. You don't listen to those voices, it'll bite you in the bum. Okay. That day he started to carve the violin. He proceeded very slowly, perfecting it over a period of weeks. When he was finished, he saw that the violin was very well made indeed, and he was proud of himself. He polished the wood and strung the violin and looked forward to the time that he might play it. Once he had made a bow. That night, the dead man came back to him in a dream and again warned him not to play the violin. But upon waking, the carpenter again dismissed the dream. Look, if it happens once, pay attention. If it happens twice, you might want to meditate on it. If it happens 3 nights in a row, you better heed. Heed. Okay. That day he carved the bow and polished its wood until it shone like that of the violin. It was late at night when the bow was finished, so he decided not to try it out until the next day. That night, the dead man came back to him once again and told him that he was warning him for the last time not to play the violin. Guys, threes. Things just, the Jews know. The Jews know magic. Okay? They know magic. They know everything happens in threes. It was late at night when the bow was finished. So he decided, okay, skip that. That night, okay, skip that. I got excited, sorry. But when the carpenter awoke, the first thing he did was to take down the violin and turn the bow across the strings. A haunting melody rose up, as if on its own, and no sooner had he played but a single refrain than the room grew dark, as if the sun had been blotted out. The carpenter ran to the window, opened it in confusion, and peered outside, but the darkness was so deep that he could not see anything. Suddenly, a great force from behind, like invisible hands, shoved him out the window. Before he knew it, the carpenter found himself tumbling down, and an instant later he plunged into something soft and treacherous, like mud. With horror, he realized it was quicksand, relentlessly sucking him under the earth. He didn't know what was under his own window. Oh, wait. This is magic. Sorry. Okay. It's the pit of despair. Okay. It had already reached his arms when he understood how imminent was his danger, and he thrashed about wildly. But it was too late. The quicksand drag, dragged him under as he drew in his last breath. Wow. The son of the carpenter found his father's body lying on the floor of the workshop, a violin in his hands. That night, the same dead man who had warned his father came to the son in the dream and revealed all that had happened. The very next day, the son burned the violin, and as it went up in flames, he heard the voice of the carpenter cry out as if from a great distance. Then he knew that somewhere his soul was still being tortured. That's horrible. That's from 12th century Germany. That's a long time ago. Yeah, that's 1,000 years ago, right? 11th century. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now we see why there's so many spin-offs of it. It's been around forever. Yeah, it sure has. Hmm, absolutely cuckoo. What time we got? We're only on the 32-minute mark, y'all. Hildegard von Bingham, y'all. Abbess. Or no, abbess, not an abbess, abbess. Lady Love. Okay. Do we want to do this one, idiom? The sorcerer and the virgin. Okay, we're going to do this. We're going to do this one. We'll be right back. Okay, guys, sorry about that. Excuse me. Excuse me, very sorry. Alright. Sorcerer and the Virgin. There was a fine and generous man, a wealthy scholar, who lived near the well in the city of Worms. Worms, there's a lot of shit happening in Worms. There's a lot of stuff that happened in Worms. Worms is a hot city. It's a sad city. He had an only daughter who was pious in every respect. One day, a student passing through the city glimpsed this girl as she went out to draw water from the well. He was smitten with her beauty and desired her for himself. Now this student was an apprentice in magic. He had studied for several years with a sorcerer and decided to use this knowledge to force himself upon her. Brazen student went up to her house and knocked on the door. When the girl answered, the student said, "Tonight I will come and possess you. You will not be able to escape." And with that, he turned away and left. Now the terrified girl hurried to her father and let him know that what the student had said. Her father became very frightened and brought 10 rabbis to his house that evening to guard his daughter throughout the night. He seated her in a prominent place before them, and he himself remained with them for the vigil. That at midnight, the 10 rabbis and the girl's father suddenly became very drowsy. They tried to stay awake, but they could not. Soon all of them had rested their heads on their arms and were sound asleep. The girl ran from one to another, calling to them and shaking them, but nothing woke them. At that moment, the student entered the room, although the door had been locked and bolted. He stood before the maiden and said, "You have no choice, so give yourself to me." Fucking predators, right? But this is Lilith's cave. Okay. Even though she was alone and faced with his great powers, the girl replied, "I would rather die." The student grabbed her, forced her down, and was about to grape her when she snatched a knife from the table and stabbed him in the back. Then she ran outside screaming and woke the neighbors, who hurried in and found the young man lying dead on the floor and the 10 rabbis and her father still sound asleep. The neighbors raised a great cry, and before long others come in to see the strange sight, among them some Gentiles who lived nearby. These neighbors passed on the news, and soon an old witch heard about it. She came to the house and said to the Jews, "Go inside quickly and see if there are candles burning in the hearth." They looked and saw 11 candles burning there. And when they reported this to the witch, she said, "The young man was supposed to have put out the candles in order for those asleep to wake up, but because he's dead, there is no remedy, and they will have to sleep until they die." Yeah. Now, when another rabbi heard of this tragedy, he came to the scene of the crime. I need tea, y'all. He saw the body of the young man and nearby the sleeping rabbis and the girl's father. Everyone there was bemoaning the terrible enchantment except for the visiting rabbi. He calmly took a piece of parchment and wrote out the name, placing it in the mouth of the dead man. Then he whispered the secret pronunciation of the name in his ear, and all at once the dead man stirred and come to life. He found himself confronted by the rabbi. So we have necromancy, zombie, and resurrection, and spell casting, and witches, and okay. He found himself confronted by the rabbi, who said, "Foolish man, you have been destroyed by those you sought to destroy. Now all that you have left to save is your soul. Hurry, blow out the candles in the hearth, for if you do not, your soul will burn in hell another century for each of those whose lives you snatched." The young man, who had already tested the scorching fire of hell, said not a word, but walked over to the hearth, bent over, and blew out the flames. And at that moment, he slumped over and died again, while at the same moment, each and every one of the sleeping men woke. When they found out how close they had come to never waking from an endless sleep, they all gave thanks to the Holy One. Blessed be he whose power had saved them from a living death. That's Germany, 16th century. Do you see how they've kept these oral tales alive to keep complacent. Yeah. Well, yeah. And if you say it 3 times, if you say it 3 or more times, the repetition ingrains it in the brain and causes it to become true. Right. And that's all you have to do to make it seem true. It's crazy. Is it making sense? It's making sense to me. Okay. Ah, the knife, the knife, the knife. Do you want to read the knife? Let me see how many pages. Yeah, it's short. We'll read it. Okay. There was a man whose widow mother died out, leaving a will. This man knew very well that she had been wealthy, and he searched everywhere in the house he could, but he could not find where her fortune was hidden. The matter became an obsession to him. He searched through everything again and again, and even looked between the pages of each and every book she owned. Nothing. Then he dug up the yard to a depth of 3 feet. Still nothing. After that, he began to tear out the floors in case the money was hidden there. It was not. At last, he realized that he simply could not find it on his own. He decided to go to a witch for help. Use and abuse the poor woman witch. Okay. Now, this witch was famous for the power of her spells, and she demanded 1/2 of her fortune for herself if she succeeded in finding it. And the desperate man agreed to this at once. Then the witch told him to leave her house, for none could be present when she worked her magic. And when he was gone, she took out a knife and set a spell over it. Then she hid the knife beneath her pillow and went to sleep. That night, a demon who had a knife in his heart came to the witch. This is weird. It was the same knife over which the spell had been cast. The demon spoke to the witch and said, "Why did you do this to me?" And in the dream, the witch replied, "So that you would bring me the woman who hid her son's inheritance. And until she reveals where she put the treasure, the knife will stay exactly where it is." At that, she woke up and she felt beneath the pillow and found that the knife was gone. She smiled to herself. Mhm. The next night, when the witch went to sleep, she dreamed that the same demon came back to her, the knife still in his heart. With him were his son and the woman who had died without leaving a will. "Now," said the demon, looking desperate, "take out the knife." "No," the witch replied, "not until the woman reveals where she hid her fortune." "That I will never do," the woman said. "Why not?" The witch asked. "After all, you are dead. What good will it do you now?" And the woman replied, "If I had wanted him to know where the money was, I would have told him." Huh? I don't want him to know. It sounds like your mother. Oh my God, that's your mother. With that, the dream ended, and the witch awoke, and the knife was still gone. The third night, the demon came back in the same company, the knife still in his heart. He looked feeble and unable to speak. His son spoke for him, and begging the witch to remove the knife, or the damage would be fatal. The witch told him that she would take it out as soon as the woman revealed the secret. Then the demon's son begged the woman to take heed of the suffering of his father and to speak. Why do demons even feel anything? They're demons. This is so strange. Okay. Right? It's so weird. Uh, and at last she relented, saying, "To spare you any more pain, I will reveal this much, and this much only. The money is hidden in a box." At that, the dream ended. Wow. Okay. When the witch awoke, the first thing she did was to pronounce another spell. Then she put her hand beneath the pillow and found that the knife was there. So she knew that the demon no longer had the knife in his heart. Then she hurried off to the home of the man and told him the hint she had wrenched out of his mother's spirit. This clue astonished him because he had looked in all boxes several times thereafter and he had found nothing. That is what he told the witch, but the minute she went away, he took each and every box apart, and in this way he found one with a false bottom, under which the fortune was hidden. Now that the reluctant inheritance was his, the man decided to leave town at once, for he had no intention of sharing the money with the witch. This he did, and the witch soon discovered he was gone, but she was not worried. That night she placed the knife under her pillow again. She did, she got him. She sure did. She got him. Where is my clappers? There we go. She sure did. She got him. The charm in the dress. Wonder how long this is. Oh, it's a little bit. Ooh. Yeah, we'll leave this one for later. Yeah, we'll leave it for tomorrow. I'm gonna try to get through all of it, of the whole book, because I mean, Satanic Ritual Abuse Survivor dropped that book a long, long time ago. So why not? Right? Why not? It's very interesting. And I don't think people really realize the information that these folk tales are telling us. They're dropping clues everywhere, all through myth. All through myth. And it's really interesting too how it seems like in the Jewish folklore tales, and I'd like to hear your all's feedback, of course, absolutely. Um, they valued magic instead of like making it, they made it evil, but they also made it seem like as long as they were doing good with it, it was okay. Right. So it's contradicting kind of everything the Catholic Church would teach you about diviners, right? Um, sorcerers, stuff like that. So, anyway, all right, I'm going to wrap it up because it's almost an hour. Thank you all for hanging out with me and checking it out. Sorry, I stumble. Um, I'm dyslexic and it's early morning and life is stressful and also strange. So just try to stay centered and focus on gratitude. Yeah, focus on gratitude. You can't go wrong. Thank you all for hanging out. Have a good day.